prompted me to do this episode and deviate is recently I put out an episode that America won the war in Iran, God forbid, and the comments that episode got across the internet were thousands and thousands. And it finally became a slap in the face reality of how deeply divided we really are and how much of a dangerous path we are going down. So I'm going to do this episode to try to explain not only to you, but to myself, to my family, how we ever got here. So, all right, folks, let's lay all of our cards right here on the table. We're watching America slip. It's not some grand mystery anymore. Let me tell you what's going on out there. We got a country where half the people love the president and half the people hate the president. Everybody's screaming at each other across some digital divide on social media. It's wider than the darn Grand Canyon. Gone are the days of the united front. Gone are the days where
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
gone are the days when the entire nation celebrated when the United States defeated the Soviet Union in ice hockey. I got a wide audience, folks, but today I'm talking directly to Generation X, the people who grew up in the 80s and 90s, a simpler time, a time when we didn't hate each other, a time where we could walk to school without fear of abduction, a time when the biggest controversy in our friend group was who got the last slice of pizza. Back then, nobody cared who was a Democrat and who was a Republican. Most of us didn't know the difference, and we didn't need to. Politics wasn't our personality trait. It wasn't a religion. It wasn't a reason to cut people out of your life. But now I've watched friends who grew up together, rode bikes, played Nintendo, went to prom together, turn on each other like enemies in a freaking civil war, unfriending each other, blocking each other, not inviting each other to events, pretending not to see one another at happy hour, all because of politics. Here's the crazy part. We didn't even know how our favorite actors voted. Jim Carrey, Tom Hanks, whomever. Nobody knew. Nobody cared. And nobody asked. Now it's shoved in your face like it's a part-time job description for some of them. We didn't know. We didn't care. And honestly, we were better for it. Before I get into the rest of this now tragic tale, I'm going to kindly ask you to click the subscribe button, like, share, comment, click the notification bell for our latest episodes. That is, if you like this content. If you don't like this content, I'm going to ask you to please click the subscribe button, and then you can come on here anytime you want and call me a moron. I actually like it. So, how did we get here? How did we go from the most confident, unified country on the earth to this fractured mess? Well, let's just say we had a couple of presidents, Democrats and Republicans, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, who decided that minding our own business wasn't really our thing, while China was quietly rising to be a superpower. We were busy being the world's police department in the Middle East, bombing this country, bombing that country, starting conflicts we couldn't finish, trying to fix cultures, quite frankly, we didn't understand. And let's be honest, that crosses all presidents. It's not just one party's fault, folks. It's a bipartisan addiction to sticking our nose where it doesn't belong. Meanwhile, China was building factories, building infrastructure, building influence, building alliances. And we were building debt, and debt to them makes it worse. Look, we're living in a time where the days when the country loved presidents like Ronald Reagan or John F. Kennedy, those days are gone. Now it's a coin toss. Half the country hates the president, half the country loves the president, and nobody's budging an inch. The kind of unity we had when the Berlin Wall fell is gone. The kind of unity we had, and I have to bring this up again, when Team USA beat the Soviets in ice hockey. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Gone. That was gangster. It was punk rock. Gone. We used to have moments that brought us together. Now we have moments that just, quite frankly, tear us all apart. Here's something that absolutely just blows my mind, as I say, just can't get through my thick head. Something that would have never happened in my generation. You've got Americans today, standing in public, proudly declaring that the United States lost a war. Let me tell you something. In the 80s and 90s, that sentence would have gotten laughed out of the room. Or, at the very least, people would have looked at you like you needed medical attention. We didn't talk like that. We didn't think like that. We didn't believe like that. We were a country that defeated Imperial Japan, Nazi Germany. We were a country that truly believed, that America didn't lose anything. Not wars, not competitions, not anything. But now you got people, Americans, who get their talking points from foreign governments or TikTok trends. You got people rooting for the United States to fail because it makes their political argument look stronger. You got people who would rather see their own country take a loss than admit the other side might have been right about something. That's how far we've fallen. That's how divided we are. That's how fragile the national identity has become. My generation would have never said America lost a war. None that I knew, anyway. Even the ones who are liberals now didn't say that then. Not because we were blind, not because we were naive, but because we believed in the country. We believed in ourselves. We believed in each other. Today, half the country doesn't believe in the country anymore. Here's the new reality. We're a nation divided not just by politics, but completely different versions of reality. We got a generation that grew up in the 80s and 90s, the last great decades in America, mind you. Look around. Sometimes I think we wonder what happened. We got a communist mayor in New York City. Let that sink in for a second. We got a political landscape where common sense is on life support. We got people who think biology is optional. We got people who think disagreement is violence. We got people who think blocking someone on Facebook is activism. Wow. And we've got a country that used to invent things, the airplane, the telephone, the train. And now we can't even agree on what is a man or a woman. This isn't progress, folks. This is confusion dressed up as enlightenment. And it isn't. It just isn't. Here's the saddest part. It's not the people who are the problem. It's governments. It's the institutions. It's the elites who profit from this division. Trying to help you here. You meet Iranians here in America, normal people here to play soccer, friendly people who just want to live their lives, raise their kids, play soccer, go to work, and grab a beer. okay? Not get dragged into geopolitical nonsense. It's the governments that fight, it's the governments that posture, it's the governments that create enemies. People aren't the problem, folks. Power is the problem. So here's where we are: divided nation, confused nation, a nation that's forgotten what unity, quite frankly, even feels like. The glory days, they're behind us. Unless something changes, unless we remember who we were, they're not coming back, folks. But at least we could talk about it honestly. At least we can call it what it is. At least we can look back. And here's my solace: the solace that I take. We can look back at the 80s and 90s and say, yeah, we lived through the last great American decades. And as always, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, I graciously and wholeheartedly appreciate you taking some time for your pal Joe Rossano again today. Folks, please subscribe. And again, if you like this content, subscribe. If you don't like this content and just want to call me names, please subscribe. Doesn't bother me at all. I like the name calling. I think it's amazing. First Amendment right and all. Please, if you get an opportunity, instead of spending $4,000 on a dog, adopt yourself a pet. Once again, God bless you, my dearest friends and fellow Americans. We'll see you next time.